Hello and welcome to the Nordic Takedown, the longest running Scandinavian Star Wars Unlimited podcasts about. We do have several more that's been popping up lately and we want to shout them out like this. But I'm Victor, and with me today is returning old-timey friend Jonah. Welcome back,
Hello,
mate.
nice to be back.
What you do?
It's been a hectic December, but I'm really happy to be back. So also haven't been too much Stars Unlimited, but it was super fun to be casting the Cantina role. So maybe
Yeah,
we can talk about that for a bit after.
I definitely think we should get into that a little bit. Now, have you been playing at all?
Um, yeah, I did a local sealed with some friends in Trondheim. So that's the only time I've actually been able to play the new set physically. Or not
Mm.
that new anymore. We're already having
Well,
spoilers for the next one. But
yeah,
been
but you
also
are
playing a bit
doing,
online.
yeah, because you are doing quite well in the Take the Initiative League, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Finished 7-1 last season, so placed 7th seed and won my top 16 game against a blue Afra deck.
Cool.
So not the most meta, but can still have a few decent matchups, I guess. Control mirrors,
But I think,
maybe.
but isn't that kind of the thing with TTI League that a lot of really interesting decks do pop up there, right?
Yeah. It's a great environment to just try wacky deck idea in a competitive environment, but still
Hmm.
with nothing at stake, kind of.
Yeah, great players playing weird stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, myself, I haven't been all that active since last week. I've only been away for a week then. But we did have a short online tournament of our own, a showcase tournament. Adam made a great video about it up on the channel already, so you can go check that out if you want to go more in depth to it. Me and Alexander brought our Krennic decks that we've been working on since way before Cantina Brawl, basically through all set 3, and we really washed out in this tournament. Alexander was really despairing there for a bit, but I think we still got legs with the deck. We just need to keep tweaking, keep working at it, and like it probably
Yeah.
get good. Yeah, you're
And
gonna wash out sometimes.
yeah, that's the thing. If we have a deck that always performs, it wouldn't be that
Hmm.
fun either, right? So
No,
boba.
yeah, exactly. So, well, I'm pretty happy that we're not on the boba level with this,
Yeah.
but. I think we're all good. We're gonna keep working at it, and I think it's gonna start performing again, probably.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the big thing that you did do since last you were on the podcast, and that
Yeah.
was the actual casting. So
Yeah.
you marathon. Uh, have you
Oof.
recuperated at all from it?
Still feeling it a bit. No, it was fine. It was a really long day.
Hmm.
In case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, I did a remote live stream for the Cantina Brawl in Skövde. So I was
Hmm.
sitting in Trondheim getting the live feed and doing some commentary. But the thing that actually made the day super fun and how the 10.5 hours went by so quickly is that I had some guests joining.
Yeah, you really got some really cool guests on, and I've been watching the stream. I was playing, so I couldn't watch it live, but I've watched it afterwards, and it was some really good content you guys cooked up there.
Thanks,
So
thanks.
you brought on some really interesting people to help you with the commentating, right?
Yeah, it was fun. Started the day off, Steven and I.
Hmm.
Steven and Jonas, they've been on the YouTube channel before. We did a deck take on their blue Cad Bane deck that really performed well in the Shadows of the Galaxy meta.
Yeah, I'd
Uh,
say Steven is probably one of the best players in Scandinavia, and definitely representing Denmark really well.
yeah. So also become a great friend. So it was really fun to have him on. We got to see some pretty one-sided quick games, 2-0s. But after lunch, I think we saw some more grindy games.
Mm.
Beton from the Soup Racers
Mhm.
was joining after lunch. It was really, really nice to have him on. We had some longer breaks where we could talk about, he could provide some insights about his experience at Birmingham. He brought Django, and yeah, just really pleasant to have him on the co-cast.
Yeah, I think he has probably one of the more stable versions of Django Talking Town deck. The Swoop Racer version is really the benchmark for that deck. I think there are some other wild ones out there that I really like, but I think that one
Mm,
is super stable without being too weird or janky or anything.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then after a couple more rounds, I was all by myself, but out of nowhere, I got a message from Pontus saying, "Hey, I might have some time to join in." So um, Pontus joined to commentate the start of the top cut,
Mm.
and at this point, I was kind of hyped because Adam and I had been working for a long time on the Anakin Blue deck, and Adam actually managed to be the only undefeated one. So it was kind of hard being in the casting seat, not having this huge bias for Adam
Well, I
playing
mean
this deck.
that deck was as much your baby as it was Adam's. I imagine. So yeah,
Yeah,
I probably could have been particularly unbiased myself in that
yeah.
case.
So we got to see a lot of games. It was a bit sad we didn't get to see the Bosk Green though,
Mm.
because I heard Adam had two really tight games against it.
Yep, he did.
So pay attention to Boss
Yep.
Queen, you might see more of it.
Yeah, that was the deck that knocked me out of top eight. So
Yeah.
I got to see it close. uh, it was a close game though.
Okay.
Went 1-2. Well, I went 1-2 against
Yeah.
it. So I took the first game, but then he took the two second games, and yeah, it was a really nasty deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Harax or Jonathan, who played it, is really good as well. He brought it again for the tournament we had, the showcase tournament we had this weekend. He did make top cut, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember. But
Mm.
if you want to know more on that, you can just watch Adam's video, and you'll learn all about it.
Nice. Yeah. And then lastly, we had Thork joining in for the final.
Yeah.
Sadly, though, we had some technical difficulties. So the feed from Skövde froze.
Hmm.
And the thing was, it froze at the perfect frame.
Yeah.
So it looked like nobody had sat down at the table yet. So Thork and I, we were discussing the matchup, we're looking at the list, we're really into it. And then suddenly I realized, I see somebody wrote like in Melee, it looks like the round has started and la la la. So, oh shit, we get back to the live feed and suddenly we're in game two.
Yeah.
But
Because you guys didn't notice that it started because of the video had frozen, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it is what it is. You can
You can see
still
game two and
see,
three.
yeah.
Yeah, it's still up on the webpage. Is if anyone's interested in watching this, and
Yeah.
it's really good cast actually. Now, you have been representing the Nordic Takedown in a lot of feeds. And we're still doing feeds. We're going to do a cast. We're definitely co-casting with Thork, right?
Yeah,
The
that's
Two
right.
Moons in
Finally been
Switzerland.
to lock it down. Just need to secure the plane tickets now. I'm trying to combine it somehow to see if I can find a nice trip. But going to Zurich,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually going to be a live in person cast. So that's really, really cool. Um, Down at the Two Moons shop in Zurich, the only Swiss PQ,
Mm-hmm.
22nd of February, and we'll be co casting together with Thork on Thork's YouTube channel.
That's really cool, and I really think it's worth mentioning that we are working on getting more streams through our own page, and in this manner cooperating with other channels.
Yeah,
So we're looking at doing streams from the Scandinavian PQs as well. We're in talks with all three, I think, at least in some uh, capacity. We're talking to all three stores right now. It looks like we're probably going to do the Stockholm PQ. Um, we just haven't really settled anything yet, but it seems like the TOs. We have talked to the TOs, and they are definitely uh, they definitely want us there. We just want to play as well, I think.
yeah,
So we're just working out how to get about this.
yeah,
And we were also contacted, I think, definitely we talked to or tried to contact Faro Cigar, which is the store that's hosting the PQ in Copenhagen. And it would be great to go to get to stream that one, I think.
yeah,
Uh, and the Oslo one, well, yeah, we're going to try and get that as well.
yeah.
Because you're
See,
going to be at the Oslo one, right?
my plan so far is to play at both the Copenhagen and Oslo PQ.
And I think
So
Adam is as well.
yeah, so then for
Yeah.
the Stockholm one, I would be available to cast probably.
Yeah. And
If we,
I'm definitely not going to Copenhagen, so I could probably help co-cast. The me and Jason are probably not going to the Oslo one,
yeah,
and I'm pretty sure Jason isn't going to Copenhagen. So, well, I mean, we're going to work on those details, but we really hope to be able to bring you a lot more casting of great tournaments, especially from Scandinavia, but from all over Europe, really, right?
yeah,
I think
would be
that's actually uh, one of the more, I don't know, one of my favorite ways to engage with the game is
cool.
to work with casting games like that, and whether I'm commentating live on it, or if I'm just watching streams or commentating through text or anything, just engaging with tournaments that way is it's really fulfilling for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think I really enjoy seeing high level gameplay,
Mhm.
and casting is also super fun.
Yeah,
But it is work.
it is work
It takes a
for sure.
toll on you having to
It
talk for many hours, but then that's why it's great to have somebody to talk to. So it's just that
Yeah,
it doesn't have to
it's
be one
really
guy.
rough doing it solo. It
Yeah,
really takes a lot out of you. Well, I'm looking forward to be able to help bring more content this way to the channel.
that's nice.
Um, well, we do have some more interesting news coming up from FFG. We have already, I mean, it feels like set three was just hasn't really gotten off to start all that much yet because of, you know,
Yeah,
December. And still, we already has been getting spoilers for set four, which
yeah,
I don't think they were officially kicked off this spoiler season, but they did this cast where they announced a bunch of cards and then they dropped some more cards through mostly their own feeds. But I think maybe one or two things have been spoiled otherwise. But we do
yeah,
have a bunch of cards to look at. So,
yeah.
what's your reaction?
First of all, I think it is like the theme of the set is super cool, and I'm happy to see they're really leaning into the space. The set is called Jump to Lightspeed, so when we saw the name announced, we kind of theorized, okay, this would be the one with leaders going into space,
Mhm.
and they have some almost delivered here.
I mean,
Leader,
kind of.
yeah, the
They
leaders,
can be in the space arena
yeah, yeah,
in in one capacity. So they're
mm,
bringing back the pilot keyword that has been part of, I think, all the Star Wars games I've ever played, Star Wars card games I've ever played, have at some point had some kind of piloting keyword.
oh, cool,
Um, Especially, I do recall it from the Star Wars LCG. It was a really cool keyword there, uh, and I really enjoyed playing with the pilot units there. And it's quite similar here. I didn't stick around Destiny long enough to actually play with the pilot units there, but they've been using it there as well. So I think this is a neat way to give more flexibility to units in the same
Yeah,
way that a smuggle brought more flexibility to your cards, that you could use them as resource while still having the option to play them.
yeah,
This also brings more options to a single card, that the card can be used in more than one way. And I think that's a kind of mechanics, that a family of mechanics that I really enjoy. It
yeah.
makes
Same.
for interesting choices.
Super flexible, and
Mhm.
you you never want to kind of draw a card that's is not useful in your hand. That having these
Exactly.
dead cards can be a really big block when you're in top deck mode. So
Mhm.
having cards that can be played in multiple ways and this flexibility um, is super valuable.
Yeah, I think so too. Um, then, having leaders that have the piloting thing, it doesn't really use the keyword piloting for the leaders. They just have the very same ability.
Yeah,
I'm not I'm not sure um I'm not sure how strong it's going to be outside of a limited environment. But that's really, I guess time will tell. Like, when you look at
yeah,
mechanics like this in this early stage of spoiling, you're measuring them against the meta that you have, the current meta. It was the
yeah,
same with spoilers for set 3 for me. Like, we saw these coordinate keywords come up, and it looks really weak to me, because
yeah,
in the set 2 and set 1 meta, having more than 3 units out was not easy. But
yeah,
I
exactly.
think it turned out that coordinate is very rarely reliant on being turned on all the time. You just need it turned on for brief moments of time, and that's usually not that hard. So I think
Mm,
coordinate abilities work much, much better than I ever thought they would. And I think all the doomsay is going like, well, you can destroy the leader with a Fang Fighter. Yeah, you can, but maybe it's already done whatever harm it's going to do by that
yeah,
time.
and that's kind of agree in what you say that it's hard to judge the few cards that are being spoiled in the beginning when we don't have the full set
Hmm.
because right now we don't have that many great units to put upgrades on. But we
Correct.
might get some units that really, really benefit from these upgrades and the
For
piloting
sure.
thing.
For
For instance,
sure.
it could have like whenever this vehicle is being piloted, something immediately happens. So you
I'm
do get an immediate benefit from deploying, even though it might be removed later.
I'm pretty sure we're going to see things like that. And like, again, like the piloting keyword in Star Wars LCG, some of the pilots had really flexible abilities to them, like the Luke Skywalker pilot unit. It the ability, I think, was that he piloted and he gave something to the unit when he was piloting it, but when the unit was destroyed, he fell off and became a ground unit, it
Mm,
didn't have Space Arena then, but he
yeah,
became a unit on his own. And I think that's the kind of mechanics that we're going to see on some of these. And if you look at the Chewbacca unit that was spoiled, um,
yeah,
like, it really makes it hard to remove it anyway. Like, it makes the unit really tough to kill. Like,
mm,
it does read attached unit, because the piloting keyword allows you to attach the unit as an attachment rather than play it as a unit. So if you if you play Chewbacca as an attachment on a vehicle, it gains the text attached unit gains this unit can't be defeated or returned to hand by enemy card abilities. So now it isn't all that hard it isn't all that easy to kill that unit, which makes
Yeah,
it much stronger. Of course, again, attachment height will still work, but
yeah,
I think we're going to. They said as much. I think that we're going to get to see things that makes this strategy, at least in their mind, more viable.
yeah.
So
I
I'm
think it's really
at
cool
this
to see
point. I'm just gone.
to see more things that allow you to go tall, because
Yeah.
it's not really been a thing outside of Chirrut, I guess. So maybe we'll see more where you, for instance, play the new Millennium Falcon card that lets you have two pilots,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you really double down. You make like a killable Falcon, can't be bounced either.
Yeah. No, yeah, in the really old Star Wars CCG from the Cypher, you had the Super Falcon combo that was like a really strong deck that was around for at least a year in the meta. And it was
Hmm.
pretty much the same that you played the Falcon and then you'd put two. It had that ability. You could play two pilots on it, and I think seem to recall that you played Leia as you pilot on it, and maybe Shui. I think it was Shui and Leia you played on it, and it got really super strong, just broken. So I'm really looking for at this stage. I'm just looking at the mechanic as is, and I
Hmm.
think the mechanic is really interesting. Again, like we
Yeah,
said, it gives you that choice: use the unit or use it as an attachment. Having
yeah,
more options when makes your deck more versatile. I think, yeah, it's just a super great and interesting mechanic to
yeah.
me.
Do you think we're gonna get, like, right now we've seen both Chewbacca and Bosk? They have a unit cost 4 and
Hmm.
5, and then the pilot cost is 2 and 3. So both are lower. Do you
Yep.
think we might see the opposite? So we have like a small unit that suddenly can pilot this big 8080 walker and it gets really powerful, or I don't know.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think it probably more often be like with the Shui unit that the
Yeah.
piloting cost is lower than the other one. But if you look at the smuggle costs, they are usually higher than the regular
Hmm.
cost. But there were some cases where it was the same, like with the Falcon or something else. There were
Yeah.
a couple of cards where the smuggle
Yeah.
cost and the regular cost was pretty much the same. And I think
Hmm.
we're going to see like that the standard is that there's a gap, and it's
Yeah.
probably they have like a benchmark.
Hmm.
They've said as much in other kinds of this discussions about designs that they found benchmarks for what a thing should cost, and I think probably like uh, two cheaper or something like that, or
Yeah.
they're probably pricing it according to a standard, but
Yeah.
then some units will break that standard in
Yeah.
different ways. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if what you suggested there with an even more expensive piloting cost could show up.
Yeah.
And also, I
That
think
would
we
be
should
cool.
like the thing you mentioned with vehicles that have different triggers from being piloted. I'm
Yeah.
almost certain we're going to see that,
Hmm.
and then there would probably really vanilla pilots as well, like
Yeah.
um, non-unique pilots like X-wing pilot or something that could
Yeah.
just play really cheap, get a small thing on like +1 power or +1
Hmm.
uh, HP or something, not doing much at all, but it is giving turning on abilities on
Yeah.
vehicles that wants to be piloted. You know.
Yeah. I have some questions about the pilot thing, because I don't know if we have the answers yet. The first one
Hmm.
is, are pilots always a unit and have like the extra ability to go as an upgrade, or will there be just an upgrade that is kind of has the pilot trait and says it can only be attached on a vehicle if it doesn't have a pilot yet?
I think the keyword pilot is
Yeah.
a keyword for units.
Yeah.
So it's a unit keyword. So that will only be on units and give them the ability to be played as attachments. But that doesn't make it so that they couldn't construct an attachment that would make a vehicle be considered piloted.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says that they couldn't design that, even though that's not
Mm.
the standard definition of the keyword. That's not how
Yeah.
the keyword works.
And then do you know for the leaders, are all going to be pilots, or have they said something about?
They've said that not all leaders are not going to be pilots. I'm not
Okay.
sure if that was official or just someone speculating, but I've heard the number half. If that's an, well,
Okay.
I guess it's a number.
Yeah.
Half of them might be pilots, or again, the leaders doesn't really have the pilot keyword. They have the epic action
Yeah.
instead. Um, Outlines kind of the pilot ability for
Yeah.
those leaders. So it's a little bit different from the pilot keyword, but it essentially does the same thing.
Yeah. Would be cool to
So
see
so
some. Yeah. Yeah.
that again gives you the design space to make an attachment or something that could work similar to piloted, since
Mm,
the
yeah.
lead is already you.
And it's also nice to have like another trait.
Hmm.
Maybe we could have some more tribal love. Could be
Hmm.
something
Hmm.
every pilot gets buffed. So
Hmm. Hmm. Definitely, because pilot is definitely a trait as well. It's both
yeah.
a keyword and a trait, because both the spoiled Boba Fett leader, the Han Solo leader, and the Asajj Ventress leader uh, has that, and also the Chewie unit has the
Yeah.
pilot trait as well. So
Yeah.
there's probably something going on there.
Yeah.
I'd expect there to be, and also like when they said that there's going to be cards that facilitate the strategy, it's probably it seems likely to me that the pilot trait is something that is like you might be able to play something, a unit or an event that will safeguard your pilots for the turn or for the duration. As long as this unit is in play, pilots can't be discarded from vehicles, so
Yeah.
something like that, something like
Could
that.
be quite cool to have, like, for instance, some events that say like all of your pilot attachments or pilot
Hmm.
upgrades
Hmm.
get played, or you may play them for free as a unit.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like everybody just jumps out of their vehicles.
I would love to have uh, something that allowed you to do that Luke Skywalker ability I talked about. Like,
Yeah,
if the vehicle get destroyed or if they get discarded from this vehicle,
yeah,
they instead become a ground unit. In fact, I would have loved that to be part of the conceptual design of the pilots. Like,
mm,
imagine if it would have been in the very pilot text or in
yeah,
the pilot rules that if the unit they're attached to gets defeated, they become a unit of their own on the ground arena.
yeah,
And let's say if they were on a ground unit, they take half damage, and if they were on a space unit, they take all but 1 HP damage.
yeah. It could
But
also
they're,
be interesting to
yeah,
kind of
it's
nerf
like
it
that.
down a bit.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. But I think they've still done things to make this a
Yeah,
viable strategy.
we
I
might see an event that says like um, you may play every pilot that was put into your Discord pile this phase for
yeah,
free or something.
yeah. Or
That
play
would kind of
a
have that effect, right?
exactly. Even if it's just play a pilot unit from your discard pile, even if it's more expensive, play a pilot unit as a pilot attachment, paying 1 extra for the cost,
Yeah.
the cost plus 1 or something. That would still be pretty strong, I
Mm.
think.
But let's say in the design space where they actually do go from upgrades back to units,
Hmm.
do you think
Hmm.
the cost of piloting then would need to be higher than the unit since you kind of
Yeah,
get
or
both?
yeah. So that could be an example of a unit. If they do Luke Skywalker pilot again, and when the unit he's attached to gets defeated, he survives and becomes a unit. Then he should probably cost more to be played as a pilot than as a just a unit. And I think like it would be really thematic, because in in Star Wars universe, there is no such thing as fall damage, right? Star Wars has always played with fall damage off. I think outside of tech, I don't know of any main character ever actually dying from a fall. Like people fall all the time and they just somehow survive, right?
Yeah. Hope we didn't spoil Bad Batch for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, I guess, but
Beep.
it's a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You need to catch up, people.
Yeah. I would say it feels really nice seeing them play around more with space.
Hmm.
Even though we've had some space techs recently in the meta with like
Hmm.
Django and Boba before, I always feel like they feel super refreshing
Hmm. Yep.
because since leaders have been on the ground has kind of been the main focus. I feel like also with the
Hmm.
stats being a bit higher,
Yep.
um, it's going to be
And I
interesting to
think
see how this changes things up.
exactly. I'm not sure because it would make sense to me that stats would remain slightly like the curve for stats in space would remain more or less the same. Maybe more
Yeah,
units with pushed stats, but that the benchmarks would remain the same even in this set. It's not by making the units more overpowered, but rather giving more variety to the kind of tactics you can employ in space. That's what I want to see. Like
yeah,
like cards like Swoop Down really appeal to me, and I think if we get much more focus on the space arena, such a card gets much more viable.
yeah, yeah.
So I would love to see that sort of the time space. I remember talking in the Discord with a couple of other Swedish players about having the reverse swoop down, kind of like air to
Oh,
ground missiles or something, maybe an
yeah,
attachment or an event that allows your units to engage with the space, your ground units to engage with the space arena in some form. Would be
yeah.
would be it wouldn't be far fetched to think that they would design such a card or some such cards.
Strike True comes to mind. Is
For sure,
that?
that's already existing, right?
Yeah.
And if you can get like get the unit to be able to strike in some capacity, maybe without taking damage or something like that.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Yeah.
yeah. The thing with Strike Through is since the art is Luke on the ground with his
Hmm.
lightsaber, I
Hmm.
kind of don't think about the card actually being able to go to space, but you
It's
could.
always been able to. Yeah.
You can just Luke can just jump up really really high.
Yep. 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 Well, I mean, force jumping is supposed to be a lot higher than regular jumping, so I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Are
Then
there
we
are
do
there
also have
any
a
of
new
the?
keyword, or
Oh
not
yeah.
keyword, but a new game mechanic.
Hmm.
The
Yeah,
no, the indirect damage.
the indirect damage. Yeah, it's kind of been around. It just wasn't like the Cad Bane ability is close to indirect damage, but indirect damage, the way they're using it now, is going to be unpreventable, so it goes under shields.
Yeah, that's also
And
new.
that's
Yeah,
super interesting. That's super interesting to me.
and the
Like,
unpreventable keyword is the only thing that changes this is shields,
huh?
or is the only
No,
difference
so
from normal damage that it goes through shields.
oh no, it's unpreventable. So nothing that could prevent damage will
Oh,
prevent
so
this.
even
The
like a
way I
lurking
understand it.
tie would die
Yeah,
from
I
it.
think, but again, the player that receives the damage gets to choose. So I
Yeah.
think they can choose to put it on the lurking tie. I haven't seen any official rulings on that yet, but
Ooh.
that seems to me, since it's unpreventable, it
Yeah.
should be able to go onto the lurking tie. But again,
Okay.
you are the one choosing. But if the only unit you've got in play is a lurking tie, well, we will need to see. We
Yeah.
need to see some rulings on this, but maybe you will have to put it on the tie then. the only official thing I've heard is the how it interacts with shields. So the shields can't prevent it, but you do not lose the shield. So you put the damage on the unit and you
Yeah.
keep the shield, which is I think that goes both ways. Like for a
Yeah.
Krennic player, that's super interesting. Be able to put the
Yeah.
damage on a unit and keep the shield. That's really interesting. And if we get mechanics that can turn grit on, more mechanics. There are some mechanics now, but they spoiled the Asajj Ventress leader, and she turns on grit for the unit she attaches to. So she gives it grit. So that's super interesting. And if you can do that under shields, it's really, really cool.
Nice. Yeah. So indirect damage means you assign it among your units or base. So you're probably going
I
for
think so, yeah.
base quite
hmm
often.
Yeah, you
Um,
could.
but the unpreventable damage thing is, do you think we're going to see other cards that have unpreventable damage that does not deal with indirect damage? So let's say like just a
Mm,
unit that says this
Unpreventable damage.
deals unpreventable.
hmm Could
I
be
don't know.
interesting. Yeah. Why not?
But
Like,
kind of Saboteur is already
yeah,
almost
Saboteur
there.
almost does that. Kind of does that. But I don't think there's a um, I don't think they should limit themselves. I think sometimes they're really cautious about using words too similar and make people confused. So,
Yeah.
like, they might be refraining from using the word unpreventable just to make the indirect damage less more its own thing. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's necessary. I think players can easily handle the same words being used in different circumstances.
Yeah.
So I hope they're not limiting themselves like that.
Yeah. The kind of reason I also thought about it was because they are two different words, right? If it was
hmm
only for the indirect damage thing, they could just make it a part of the explanation, but they decided to actually
Exactly.
use the new word unpreventable.
Right. Right. I agree.
But
Yeah.
let's see.
So what do you think about the Han Solo unit and what it does with decks and deck building? Is this something that intrigues you, or is it just a gimmick? That's
Mm, I think cards that like really put a restriction on your deck,
hmm
they or your deck building requirements, they can be good if they have the support for it, but it's gonna really depend if they need to start playing suboptimal cards to keep the ratio of, in this case, odd costs high.
hmm hmm
But going into set four now, we have a pretty big card pool, at least compared to the beginning. So
hmm
it's definitely
and
interesting
cost.
to see more of these like things playing around with costs and making you have to change your normal curve.
hmm Yeah, because costs aren't really like there are a lot of units of every cost,
Yeah,
so it's less restricting than a trait or
yeah,
something like that. It feels more open and probably allows for more strategies. But then the ability, have such a hard time assessing how strong the ability is, really. For those who haven't seen the card, as a leader, he has a free action or a exhaust the leader card to do an action, and it says reveal the top card of your deck, then attack with the unit. If the revealed card and that unit have different odd costs, that unit gets +1 +0 +1 power +0 HP for this attack. So it feels to me that we have units that already have this ability. Like it's very similar to I don't no sorry Generso from set
yeah,
one, and
yeah. And IG,
she's yeah, IG has that kind of ability. So I think other leaders have sort of this ability, but without the restraint on deck building. But then
yeah,
as a unit, when you deploy, him, you get to choose to whether or not to deploy him as a unit or deploy him as a pilot attachment. So if you attach him, attached unit is a leader unit when deployed as an upgrade for each friendly unit or upgrade that has an odd cost. Ready a resource. So it's a pseudo Boba Fett kind of thing, only the Boba Fett flip turn thing going on here.
Yeah,
Uh, I,
I
it's
think,
really hard to assess, isn't it?
yeah, flipping on 5 is definitely nice.
Hmm.
He's always going to ready one resource because he counts himself
Yep.
as having an
And
odd cost.
and if you build your deck at least decently, you need to have at least one unit in play to attach him to,
Yeah,
and that unit should be odd costed, I
yeah.
guess.
The
If you're
problem though,
building it
yeah, is that he deploys on 5. So what are you
right,
playing for your 5 resources? If you're playing a 5 cost, you're not getting
yep,
more back. You're at least utilizing all 5 resources.
and you get two
Um,
back. No,
no, but
differently
because they
for
have
each
different
friendly unit or
costs.
upgrade that has an odd. Oh yeah, no, they don't
What?
have to be different.
No. Okay. 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 I
So
misunderstood.
two
Yes.
5 costed cards would ready 2
Yeah.
resources.
Okay. Okay. Then it's better than expected, because
Hmm. So then you're almost up to the Boba flip turn.
yeah. If you have like a falcon that survives 2, you're up to 3.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Or
I
you
think.
have a 3 cost unit already in play
Yeah. Yeah.
from that turn.
So I think,
And
the flip, like the when deployed effect, is
mhm,
decent.
yeah,
Problem is though it doesn't work as a unit. It's only if you deploy as an upgrade,
yeah,
and you maybe don't want to do that in every matchup.
no.
So you
He's
might
very
have to
vanilla
choose
as a
sometimes.
yeah, and if you deploy him as a unit, he's not bad, but he's kind of vanilla. He's a 3/7 no ability unit. And
Yeah.
that's not bad on a 5 cost leader. That's fine, I guess.
Mhm.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of 3/5s that doesn't have that much of an ability going on when they're flipped, or at
Yeah.
least doesn't do much different things from like if you look at Han Solo, the young Han, uh, his ability doesn't change much from when he's flipped to when he wasn't flipped.
Yeah.
It's just that he can do it more than once.
Yeah. And it's I think, as we mentioned already, it's difficult to say how powerful these upgrade leaders will be.
Yeah, definitely. Um, it's really interesting because a lot of the leaders that have been because this is going to be kind of the instead of the starter decks, they're going to have these two showcase decks, I think they call them.
Hmm.
So this is one of them, and then the Boba Fett is the other. And that makes me still think that the pre-release kits will probably have these 2 units as the 2 units that you always get in the pre-release kit.
Yeah.
But this ability seems really hard in a limited format, right?
Yeah. That's true. um, it's probably not going to be a popular choice there. Um,
Right.
but I guess you don't have to, in limited, you don't always have to go for the big combo. Just
No,
like a
true.
five deploy
A
3/7
5/7.
might be
Yeah,
what you need in an aggressive deck.
for sure. And again, the flexibility is there where you can deploy them as a attachment if you want to. You know,
Yeah.
get a +3/+3. No, sorry, +3/+4 on
Yeah.
a unit. That's not bad. In
Yeah.
limited, there's probably not that much attachment hate.
Yeah.
They might stick around for a bit.
Yeah. So really looking forward to this set overall, would say.
Hmm.
Like the theme, like the art that's been spoiled. So much nice art. um,
Yeah,
especially with like Star Wars Rebels, which is a show I really like. So
yeah,
maybe
me
we're
too.
gonna see some more specters.
Yeah, would be nice. Make Hera actually work again.
Yeah.
Well, has she ever?
We'll
Would be
see.
nice. It would be nice. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
I think, yeah, uh, that could be our closing argument for this little
Yeah.
session. I think we are coming up onto the holidays. We're going to try to make a holiday short special thing
Yeah.
for the days in between the holidays, so you
We
get
need to keep
something.
our weekly streak.
Right,
We
right.
can't, and now we're
Uh,
42 episodes in.
yeah. So we're going to try and make that. But with that, I think we could sign off for this time.
Yeah.
Uh, Always great to hear from you, and we've been missing you, man. So it's good to have you back.
Good to be back. Right.
Yes, I think
Happy
the thing I
holidays.
sign off with here should be "May the force be with you," and see you next week.